All right, Kiss Army, welcome to the KissFAQ Podcast. Thank you for giving us your time today and letting us into your head. I hope we don't do any damage. We hope that you enjoy.
Welcome back to the KissFAQ Podcast. I'm your host for today, the first and probably only time, Andrew Scambatti, a live Catman on the board. I'm joined by the illustrious Julian Gill, who without him none of this would be possible. Episode 320. We're going to talk about some topics from the board, some new releases. We just passed one of the 3 record store days here in 2020. And we had a special interview with Erik Turner, who worked on the KISStory II book. Erik shares some stories about his time with Warrant, his time opening up for the 1989 Paul Stanley solo tour, and then again working on KISStory. So, packed show today. And I'm so glad to be here. And so glad that Julian lent me the keys to drive this crazy truck. That's the KissFAQ Podcast. So here we are.
Yeah, I'm too tired to drive today. It's been one of those weeks. I think I'm on 60 hours already, so sometimes you have to have a designated driver. And what I love about our crew is that any one of you can host. Any one of you can do this because you don't have to be special to do a podcast. You just have to be able to...
I thought you did have to be
Well, no, you have to
special.
be able... I think you have to be able to string a sentence together, but listening back to some of the episodes, I know I say a lot.
Sometimes, I mean, I think we're all negative. We're all guilty of that, I think. Even some of the best podcasts that you pay for, they're guilty of that sometimes too.
It is, and a lot of it comes down to editing, and I simply refuse to edit. I've been working on a project that I'm editing audio, and I'm going back through it, and every time I listen to it again, and it's a 50-minute show now, there's my I hear another breath, and I wrote the stuff, and it's to hear that, and I'm having to take it out because I really want it to be perfect this time. So when it comes time to do a FAQ podcast or a Look It's Rock and Roll podcast, I just want to hit record, hit stop, put on the front and the back, and put it out for everyone to listen. I don't want it to be a job. I don't want it to be unfun strictly for me. Hopefully it's not unfun to our viewers or listeners.
Well, you know what is fun? Kiss vinyl has always been fun for me. It was actually my introduction to podcasting. And with Record Store that just came by, I was able to get Origins Volume 1, the picture disc, the double picture disc version. This is just this is a beautiful package. Julian, you wrote some of the liner notes on this, or actually all of the liner notes rather. This was very, very cool, and just such a cool package. E1 has been hitting it out of the park with all of their releases, and there's no signs of stopping because Ace's new record, Origins Volume 2, is coming out September 18th. So make sure you head on over to one of the several retailers that have different versions and variations of that and get your Origins Volume 2.
Yeah, and talking of Origins Volume 2, what came out today? It dropped last night for friends and family in Australia. It is the next single off the album. It's a YouTube video for I'm Down, a cover of the Beatles. I can't remember. I should know it off the top of my head, but it was originally a B-side. It's previously been covered by Aerosmith, but I think Ace dialed in an absolutely storming version. John 5 guests on guitar on there, I believe.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I actually really even enjoyed the little promotional piece of artwork that's been attached to the single when you view it on YouTube. I like how they did the Ace in the Beatle font. I thought that was really cool, really interesting to look at. But this is cool. The record is sounding fatter and fatter. Every song that I hear, I'm just really noticing the production value on this. Not to say that the previous releases by Ace lacked production, but I think there's a huge increase in production value between the Anomaly release and what he's doing now. And that just maybe because he's been back at the game, back behind the mixing console longer than he had been before. So I like this one. It's obviously not one of my favorite Beatles songs, but I'm anxious to hear the rest of the record.
Yeah, I love the song. Always did. I loved Aerosmith's version. I was really interested to hear what Ace was going to do with the song, and I really thought that he did it justice, and he kept it Ace-ified in the right ways. And I love what you said about the production as well, because that is something that I think the album really does shine sonically.
The last couple. And I said this when Spaceman came out. I wasn't a big Ace solo fan. I'm just not a big solo fan of any of the Kiss members. I like them in Kiss and together. But I loved Spaceman. I thought it sounded great. And some of the songs that were covers on Spaceman, like I Want to Go Back, I didn't know that was an Eddie Money song. I'm not an Eddie Money fan, but it was cool. It sounded cool. And I'm really glad that we're able to sit here in 2020 and we're listening to new Ace records. It's cool. It's really cool.
Yeah, we're talking about new music from a member of KISS, which is really cool. I got one thing in the mail this week. I had some gift certificates left on Amazon UK, because obviously my family's all there. And I ordered a copy of, you just about see it. There you go. Origins Volume 1. I'm in search of a regular jewel case edition of these I Hate Digipacks. I know I've been told that they're more difficult to actually make, but I hate them with a passion. So I was like, oh, I'll get it from, get the Steam Hammer or Steel Hammer, whatever it is, the European distributor. And it's not. It's another one. But it's got the original hype sticker that's got fire and ice. So if anyone wants to trade for a Euro version of Origins Volume 1, drop me a line. You know where to find me. Come over to the FAQ. Get your feet green in the cess mire.
In the cess. Oh my God. If you ever made a shirt that says the cess prior, I would wear it. That'd be a great shirt. This is something else that's also not new, but I just happened to, I had to go to Walmart on Record Store Day, and I finally found one of these, the orange translucent vinyl of Destroyer Resurrected. I just like this. Correct me if I'm wrong, everybody out there.
You're wrong. My
original version of Destroyer Resurrected on vinyl, it's obviously black vinyl, but is it like a matte finish? Is the cover a matte finish like this? I don't know. I just noticed that as I think it looks really stunning in this matte finish that I have here. I don't know. I got to do a side by side. I haven't pulled it out of my record collection yet.
Yeah,
but
mine's not been out of the shrink, so I have no idea.
I open everything. I really do. It's my collection to enjoy. I really do. Every time I say I'm going to laugh. Well, with Record Store Day that just passed, the Ace-ified Record Store Day release was Trouble Walkin', first time on vinyl since 1989. Double vinyl in 45 speed. So what does that mean? Because I just certainly didn't know what it meant on there. When you put it on your turntable, make sure you turn your speed to 45, because there's a lot of fatness on this record. And look at how cool the actual vinyl looks. It looks like a melted creamsicle. So I thought it was super cool.
It's like a fried egg.
Yeah.
Space eggs.
But yeah, Space Eggs. At this juncture, let's talk about Space Eggs. But it's got some pictures of the album session on there, and then it's got this Ace Frehley Trouble Walking, which reminded me of, and I grabbed it before we started recording today. It reminded me of the 12x12 promo flat from Trouble Walking. It just says it has the album cover on one side and just says Ace Frehley on the other side. I actually had a stack of these, and every time somebody either buys something from me or I send somebody something, I send it to them.
And one day you'll be rid of them all. I had that with the Paul Stanley Phantom of the Opera postcards. I had like so many of those.
I had so many of the Kiss Alive 4, the Kiss Militia. Excuse me, it wasn't Kiss Army in 2004. It was the Kiss Alive 4 Militia, where they sent you a bunch of stickers to promote Kiss Alive 4. It was basically the record company's like, here, you want to promote it? Yeah, you do it. And it was just all everybody else doing the record company promotion that they would normally do. But I used to have a bunch of those. I finally got rid of those. And then I had a bunch of Gene Simmons' Tongue magazine stickers in the early 2000s. Those are all gone. They've been gone for a long time.
Yeah, most of my stuff's gone. I think like most people who've been on the KISS cruise, I have a bucket full of napkins, unused, mint, in airtight bags. So, all right, what else? Well, I did Record Store Day, and unfortunately, I haven't been able to find Ace in a store. I did get Ace because obviously I did the Trouble Walking unboxing, but today I finally got the Def Leppard one, which my background just sucks ass.
Why does that do that? Is it like...
Oh, I don't know. I've got my other backdrop behind me, so let me just turn this off because... It
would actually be really funny if I don't even know if you could do this, but it would be funny if you just had a digital version of the same background behind you and you just kept switching in between. I would find humor in that. I would.
Yeah. What else?
But I did want to shoot a quick thank you out to everyone. That includes you, Julian, and everybody watching my fan film One Last Time, live from New York City, this past week hit 300,000 views.
That's sick.
Maddening. It's maddening because when I first put it out, I was like, I hope I hit 100,000, and that seemed like it was so unattainable at the time because there's a ton of Kiss content on there, and I wasn't expecting people were going to sit down and watch an hour and 20-minute fan film. But you guys are so great and so crazy, you did. So I'm super, super, super appreciative and super thankful that everybody sat down, took time out of their day, and did it. And in 3 months, 300,000 views. Can't believe it. So the next milestone I want to look forward to is 500,000, which if this is any consultation about how it's going to go, I think in about 2 months I'll be there, and that'll be something cool to celebrate. 500,000 views. So if you watched it, if you shared it, if you talked about it, thank you so much, everybody everyone had a hand in this. I know I was the jag-off that made it, but it was you guys out there that made it popular. So I'm super, super, super grateful for that. And there might be another one in the making. We'll see.
Hot. I know how much you suffered for that. So, even in the few days since it hit 300, now it's on 313. So there you go.
Can't believe it.
Live score right there. So,
can't believe it.
To anyone who wonders, why do we get excited about things like this? Because when you pour your heart and soul into a project, when you suffer, and I watched at least 8 edits of this during the process of you making it, and I dread to think how many different, this goes here, until you got it exactly how you wanted, that you went through, that no wonder you get excited, especially when you set goals in your head about how you need it to be validated on a personal level. So, every time Andrew shared this on Facebook or on Twitter or on the FAQ, it's not bragging, it's excitement as a fan. Yeah. That it's something that he's made is being appreciated by his fellow fans, which is really cool. And, anyone who does something like that, whether it's book projects, whether it's things that are tenuously official, it's mostly excitement.
All excitement. It's funny you mentioned about how many times I had to watch it. I don't know. I think probably 7 out of the 8 edits that you watched, I just had a very concert-like opening credits sequence where you're watching concert footage and like the credits appeared in the lower hand corners where Gene Simmons, Paul Stanley, produced by, directed, all that stuff. And one of the very last things I did is someone was like, it looks kind of weird when the names are on the screen, it doesn't match the member of the band on the screen. So I was like, can I really do that? And I was like, So at the very last minute, the release date was probably less than 24 hours away. I started animating those sequences where you see Kiss walking through the fire and the explosions happening and the title screens looking like pages from a tour book. That was the very last thing that I added because that wasn't there. It just someone had watched it and goes, hey, what would be cool? And then I did it. Then it happened. So yeah, again, thank you so much for doing that, and thank you for giving me a platform to do it and talk about it. And yeah, there'll be another one. And maybe the next one will be the last one. I'm not really sure. I really only want to do things that Kiss hasn't done. And what I mean by that is some fans are like, oh, you got to do one on Revenge.
Why?
I was like, well, why? I think Kiss Confidential and Kiss Extreme Close-Up does a great job of doing Revenge. Then you have the Symphony for the World Domination Tour. You have the Rock the Nation Live DVD. You have Vegas. You have The Last Kiss from the Farewell Tour. You have all these periods that are represented by official Kiss releases, the Second Coming and things like that. I'm just trying to fill in the gaps and trying to do stuff that we as fans wish they had done. So I'm running out of things to do is what I'm saying.
I disagree because I think while the band has done a lot of stuff that was very good at the time, say Second Coming and some of the features that have been included from the reunion era on the Kissology box set, I don't think there's a really good documentary from a third eye perspective, about the reunion era, given the full treatment of exactly how it could be, rather than the party line that an official product is always going to be, to going to the fans who made the trip to Tiger Stadium, to going to the fans who were there under the bridge or on the aircraft carrier. I just think there's still a lot of scope to improve on some of the things that the band has done that you can only do as an unofficial fan rather than as official product to be released, because I think
maybe
who knows?
I mean, the reunion is my favorite time period because that was when I became a fanatical fan. I was 11 years old at the time, and I just remember walking into like every mom and pop store, every little bodega, every deli, and there were Kiss magazines on the stand every time I was there. And the one I remember the most was the Entertainment Weekly magazine with them on the cover, which I still have in my collection. So that's my favorite time. Every time I watch any clips from the reunion tour, I'm 11 years old again. I remember one of my fondest memories is watching the MTV Video Music Awards when Kiss was under the Brooklyn Bridge playing. And obviously they only aired Rock and Roll all night. But I remember when Paul said, thank you, we love you, we'll see you all soon. I remember like watching that, and I was like, Mom, he's talking to me. He's talking to us. He's going to see us soon. And I didn't know that less than 4 months later, I would be seeing Kiss at the Meadowlands on New Year's Eve, 96, 97. I got tickets a week before the show because one of the guys that had purchased tickets was like, oh, my wife wants to go to Beauty and the Beast on Broadway, because that was huge at the time. I think it might have been in its freshman year when the Beauty and the Beast. Somebody in the comments tell me when Beauty and the Beast was huge on Broadway. But the guy was obviously a Kiss fan, and he sold me the tickets at face value, which was $85 face value. So it was still a little expensive at the time. But he says, hey, I really want to go, but I can't because my wife is making me go see Beauty and the Beast on Broadway instead. So my loss is your gain. And if an eagle-eye viewer who watched one last time, I do a little feature on the Meadowlands show. I actually found the newspaper ad that my mom answered when we went to the show, because I had remembered that I was like a week before the show, so I went and pulled old newspaper classified section from the Asbury Park Press, the paper from my local area at the time, and December 21st and December 22nd had the same listing: Kiss tickets, face value, call this number. And there were no other ads that said that, and every other ad was like, oh, this front row or this, that, or New Year's Eve. So that was the ad. So I was like, that's it. That's the ad that I saw. So just like Paul said on the Kiss My Ass Home videos, like this was the ticket for Kiss, this was the ticket for Ace, that was my ticket for Kiss. So it was very fitting to put that in the movie, even though it's only in there for like a split second. It's still in there.
Yeah, how cool. Talking about movies, Peter DVD apparently has been mentioned as maybe creaking towards possibility. Yeah. I didn't catch the new episode of Three Sides where it was mentioned.
I did not. But tell me your thoughts on that, because I know you had seen this tour of Peter's, and I only say tour because it's only a couple shows. What are your feelings on that?
Because it had a first show and a last show. It was a really quick tour, but it was it's something that needs to be immortalized on video. I would love it to have been from the cutting room, but I know that the first song, Issues, and Peter's emotion of that night really would be hard to fix in order for it to be perfect. And Melbourne, from what I've seen of it, is just as good. And I again, if you then do maybe just use the extra song that was done in New York as like a bonus or as an Easter egg, it should be out there. I have my recording of it, which I listened to quite a lot because it is such a special moment for me. I will never stop singing the praises of it, even if it does get officially released, because it was one of those great moments in history that I got to be a part of. And again, to be sitting a few feet away from Peter Criss, getting choked up to the sounds of Yo, This Is New York, seeing him in a club in New York with a couple of 100 or 300, diehards. What could be better than, number one, for everyone else to get to see it properly and hear it in quality?
Yeah, I missed out on that, obviously. You didn't see me at the cutting room because we would have probably done something in the city that day. But I think it's cool that Peter went out on his terms, and what better way to celebrate that than with a release like this, a pro-quality release. I mean, the band that he played with, Sister Doll, I believe was their name, great Australian band, same band here in the United States. I think it would be cool to see. I'm chomping at the bit for anything new Kiss. I really am. And that kind of segues into the next thing that we wanted to talk about. We know that Rachel Gordon is selling a bunch of cassette tapes that was supposedly from Ace's collection. And who knows who knows what's gonna happen with that. But again, chomping at the bit for new Kiss stuff.
Anything new would be good. And obviously, new. I think Peter had talked about doing a rock album, having actually recorded some music with Johnny Five. And Richie Scarlett, I believe, did some bass sessions for that as well. So,
the Emperor of Rock and Roll.
Ace is churning out product, and I know Peter's going to be 75 this year, but Peter's voice is just magic. It's his voice that I want to hear again on new songs, whether he's written them himself, whether they've been written for him, or whether they're just songs that he likes. I mean, I would love, for there to be a Peter Criss Origins Volume 1, because I do happen to like the musical trip that he's taken me on during my life that has made me grow and listen to other sorts of music that I otherwise would not have. So from that perspective, I know people criticize it, because it was a little bit out of sync with the rest of the members of the band. But for me, I would love it. And I know some other fans would. And when you come back to the very basic element of what you're saying, more Kiss-related music.
Listen, I listened to Peter's album more than I listened to the Gene solo album. I listened to Peter Criss 1978 more than I listened to Asshole. So
that's not a very high bar, mind you, but there you go.
But I'll tell you, it's an album that could only have been made in that time. It's a New York, LA hodgepodge of 1978. That's what it is. No one's arguing that Paul Stanley's 1970 album is the best one of the four. No one's arguing that. But I don't know. It's just sometimes I put it on and clean the house. Yeah. So I mean, just. More Kiss. Oh, I wanted to mention, a video popped up online a couple of days ago of a printing press printing out copies of Kiss Alive. So it seems like that Kiss Alive is probably going to be the next reissue.
What do you mean?
What do you think about that?
For 45th anniversary? All I can say is what color. And I think this one has to be gold. Because it is officially only gold certified in the United States by the RIAA, even though I've seen Casablanca shipping statements of up to 4 million copies of it. Now every time I say I'm going to be like...
Same with me. I was like,
yeah, what was that movie with Johnny Depp? Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah.
The Red Queen. Okay, so getting back to that, I think it has to be gold, because for Kiss Geeks, that comes back to, obviously, the Gold Award that they received on stage in Detroit in January 1976, if I am correct. And I don't remember.
You are correct. You are correct. And if you want to see a clip of that, I highly recommend watching the 1976 made-for-television that never aired on TV special Kiss at Midnight, produced by Incognito Films. Watch it on YouTube right now.
We don't have a script, so that was a completely natural setup that just happened.
I know.
All right, what else do we have on the...
I'm excited. I want to see the goodies that they bring along with that, because if they're going to do a Live and a Live 2 next, they might have me hook, line, and sinker. I didn't buy any of the 40th or whatever. I didn't buy any of the anniversary reissues, except for Rock and Roll Over, because that's my favorite album. So, depending on the color and depending on the presentation, will determine if I buy it or not.
Presentation is very important, and I would like to see two things happening with future product coming along. They're doing a great job of merchandising each one of these releases. Now, one thing that is not included in these records are reproductions of the original order forms. I think they need to do mock-ups in the style of the original 1970 ones. So take the layouts and
with the 1970 prices.
Nah, that's not going to happen. Gene Simmons on line 3. No, Andrew. I can't do a Gene voice, but I would love to see them do updated kind of merchandising forms as inserts, because if fans know there's an additional Chucky in there.
Yeah, that would be cool. What tour book are they going to sell on every order form? End of the Road version 5?
No, they'll be.
You wonder if they just have
6.
You wonder if. Okay, or 5A. Is it really a 6th version?
I don't know. I still have version 1. What do I care?
And that's a whole nother episode. But no, I agree with you. They've done a really solid job merchandising everything in there, and I would buy them for that order form. That would be cool. So I'm anxious to see what is going to be in this Kiss Alive reissue. If the award looks cool, maybe I'll get that. Who knows? I guess we'll see. Yeah. Excuse me. It's time for me to go back.
Is it past your bedtime as well? I mean,
it is past my bedtime.
You've had one of those weeks, but we're just talking about some of the reproduction stuff that goes inside those. The new CDs that are coming out in Japan, the first ones have started showing up, haven't they? I did see someone post their Killers that comes with the sticker and the insert sheet.
That's a damn good sticker.
The fold-out thing. Yeah, the sticker was really cool. I had one in a copy.
I ordered double platinum because that's my favorite. That's my favorite record. Was my first record of all time, and I'm only looking through my phone now because I'm gonna tell you. Hold on, CD Japan. No, that's not it. Here we go. So initially the release date was August 26th, and it's been moved to September 30th. So just a little under a month away still. Did you stop? Did you mute yourself?
Yeah, I thought I'd unmuted myself, so I'm just checking. I ordered all 4 of them, so I will be waiting for those to come in. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that's very cool. All right.
Yeah. Hey, so without further ado, why don't we jump back and let's get into our exclusive interview with Erik Turner from Warrant. He was so gracious to sit down with us and chat Kiss. And yeah, here's Erik Turner. We have a special guest here, musician Erik Turner is joining us here today. Thank you so much for joining us, Erik.
Hey, thanks for having me on the show. Rock and roll all night, party every day.
That's that. I mean, we've said that more times than I care to admit, unfortunately. But we're here today. Obviously, everybody listening knows Erik is from the. I don't want to call you guys a hair band. I'm just going to call you guys a rock band, Warrant. But what some Kiss fans may not know is not only is Erik a Kiss fan, but his history with Kiss dates all the way back to 1989. So, Erik, talk a little bit about your first introduction to Kiss as a band when you heard them the first time, and then obviously your first introduction to touring with Paul Stanley of Kiss.
Yeah, when I was a kid, just like millions of other kids, probably 12, 13, I had a couple different buddies. We would, trade vinyl or, hey, check out this record or check out that record. And I was at a buddy's house and he had Kiss Alive there. And I was like, wow, what is this? And he let me take it home and borrow it. And a few weeks later, my walls were covered with Kiss posters, like so many other kids. It was awesome. What a Kiss Alive. I mean, the first one for me is the best live album, but that's just my personal opinion.
That's my favorite, but for me it changes, and for me the Kiss posters are still on my walls. I still never grew up. So Warrant really hit the scene in the late '80s, and one of your first, I guess I don't want to say major tours, but one of the first tours was opening up for Paul Stanley on his first solo tour. How did you guys get involved with that, and what did you think of seeing Kiss Alive and then seeing Paul Stanley in no makeup playing the same stages that you were playing?
It was an honor, and of course we were all excited to go out and play with Paul. I don't believe I had ever met him before we started that tour, and we had done, our record came out in 1989. We had done a little touring before that with Brittany Fox and another band called DeMalls in '88. But once the record came out, we had 3 weeks was our first tour to start, supporting the record. And that was with Paul Stanley with his solo band. And it was awesome. We were playing small clubs, getting to see Paul and his band play every night in a small venue like that was really awesome. All the guys in this band were super cool. Paul was cool. It was a pretty awesome way to kick off our Dirty, Rotten, Filthy, Stinking Rich tour.
Now,
And
Down
future
Boy,
Kiss drummer Eric Carr was in the band too. Oh, sorry to cut you off, Julian.
yeah, I was just going to say, Down Boys hadn't even gone into rotation on MTV yet. So what sort of reception were you guys getting, as a new emerging band? I know you had a lot of hype behind you because you're in the magazines. People knew who you were, but you hadn't yet released that album, and that video had not quite hit MTV.
Yeah, I think everybody that was there to see Paul Stanley, and hopefully we won over some hearts and minds and some rock and rollers while we were out there doing our set and doing our thing. But yeah, we started touring him like the day the record came out, and then the single started catching some momentum. Then the video came out, and MTV started playing that, and of course we started seeing a lot more fans come out from the MTV powerhouse that they were, as far as marketing and everything. People dig seeing the video, then they come out and see you play live. So it was good though. I mean, the reception was real good. Our music's not super heavy, not super light. We're just a hard rock band with some melodic vocals and lyrics. And our first album, obviously that's all we were playing music from, was our first album. That's just a party rock album, and people came out to party, and people like to party in the 80s, and we like to party with them. So it worked out pretty good.
It's interesting to see how different things really are from then as it is now. Bands release a single or a video on YouTube, and now you see bands having concerts in their living rooms. Obviously with the pandemic going on, it's changed. But whenever I hear stories from back then, I mean, I was way too young to get into all that. I was born in '85, so every time I hear stories about those days past, I'm like, how cool would it have been to watch MTV when it actually played music, see a band on MTV, and then 3 weeks later, they're in your town. It seemed to be always happening with so many bands.
Yeah, it was awesome. I saw a funny meme the other day. We want to congratulate, MTV on 40 years of music, or no, 40 years, 40-year anniversary and 14 years of music. Because, they stopped playing music videos so long ago. They became a reality TV show type station, and music kind of took a backseat for the most part, not completely, but it definitely wasn't music video driven like it was when it started out.
Yeah. So Warrant obviously went on to have huge success, multi-platinum tours, multi-platinum records, and you guys at one point were considered the top rock band. How did you make the transition from touring with Warrant to, in 1997, getting that call from Tommy Thayer to work on this wild KISStory II book?
Yeah, well, Tommy and I have been friends since '84, and we actually had a production company going for a while. We had a couple bands we were working with. One of them we got a record deal for, called The Things. And so Tommy and I were neighbors, and we just, we hung out, and I knew he worked for KISS, and he knew I had some time off and wasn't doing much. And he asked me if I wanted to work on the KISStory II book. This is the way I remember it. So he goes, we're having a meeting up at Gene's house tonight about the book, and come up there with me. And there was a handful of people there, and went up to Gene's house, and his office is where we met, and started talking about the KISStory II book, and of course KISStory, the first book, and I got the gig. I got the job.
What did pre-production look like for KISStory II, if you were involved in that? Obviously, the success of the first book is what spawned the second book. Where was your timeline in this project where you actually got involved and got the gig to work on the book?
I think pretty much right from the start. They had already been collecting a lot of images of all the different toys and stuff. But basically, long story short, I would show up at Gene's house at, I don't know, around 10 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the morning. We'd work till 5 or so in his office, just Gene and I, for 3 weeks. We did that every day, and just going through everything, organizing everything. And then Gene got an office over off Sunset Boulevard, where Doc McGee's building is. So he set up shop upstairs, and we got a bunch of computers in there, Mac computers in there, and just started scanning images and working on stuff. There was another guy that worked on it too. I can't remember his name right off the bat, was up there with me. But yeah, it was pretty awesome experience. I mean, to spend all that time with Gene Simmons, obviously one of my rock and roll heroes, was great experience. up at his house every day, just hanging out, and of course listening to him on the phone, cutting $1 million deals all day long and stuff like that. That's what Gene does.
What I think is the funniest thing about Gene is whenever he calls somebody, and I did a bunch of promotion for a soda company. Whenever he calls somebody, like, you know he's going to call you, but when he gets you on the phone, he still wants to tell you, this is Gene Simmons from KISS. Like, you already know who he is, and you already know that he's calling you, but he has to introduce himself as, this is Gene Simmons from KISS, and I always thought that was funny. So take me back to that time when you're working on KISStory II. You're obviously a huge KISS fan. You have pictures of Gene Simmons on your wall, and now you're sitting there just cutting it up with the guy, scanning stuff and working on books with the guy. Was there ever any talk of your employment, I guess, with KISS continuing after this KISStory II project?
No, I think I worked on the project for roughly 3 months. I mean, it's a long time ago, just around 3 months. And then Warrant started getting busy again, and some other music stuff started happening. So I resigned before the book was completely finished. So I don't know if there would have been any other opportunity there. There might have, there might not have. But my own band, Warrant, started getting busy, and I needed to go do that. That's my true calling in life and my true passion, you know. Started the band with the other guys when I was 19 years old. So, and here we are still today. Still today talking 20 years later.
Well, yeah, 20 years from 1997, which is really wild to me because I got into all this music in the late 90s and the early 2000s, and it was at a time where you can tell that there were a lot of powers to be changing. You know, these big metal tours weren't happening. These classic rock tours weren't happening at the time. And here we are now in 2020. I could go to Walmart or Target and I could buy almost any band T-shirt that I want, you know, Warrant included. It's the oddest thing because I remember when I was a young kid, it just wasn't like that. And now you can go and you can basically purchase whatever you want, and groceries too in the same store. It's mind-boggling to me that there's such ebbs and flows when it comes to music and that kind of thing. But, I mean, you guys are one of the only bands that are still successful in doing what you do and have basically continued successfully for all these years.
Yeah, we just keep playing. We keep taking it one day at a time, keep playing shows. We play shows every year, and we make a new CD about every 5 years. Our last CD was 2017. It's called Louder, Harder, Faster. 2011, we did a CD called Rockaholic. 2006, we did a CD called Born Again. So we're writing new music, but of course, when people come out to the shows, we know they want to hear all the hit songs from our first 2 albums. And then we'll sprinkle in some Dog Eat Dog and maybe a song or two from our new album. But the lion's share of what we play is the first 2 albums, and it's a lot of songs that if you're a Warrant fan, obviously you know all the songs we're playing and dig it, you know?
How much of a challenge is that for you, you know, as a band that has a pretty big catalog going back to, obviously, the debut, but you've also got those core hits that people just expect to hear. It's a bit like KISS's situation. Are there albums and songs that you feel are just really badly neglected in your catalog that you would love to get out there and play, but you just don't have the bandwidth in a set to make everyone happy?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done around 9 albums. I'm not sure. But, yeah, I mean, there's songs on Born Again and Rockaholic, you know, we would love to play. There's cover songs. We did a cover record with a bunch of cool cover songs on it that would be fun to play. A lot of Warrant fans tell me they really love Ultraphobic, which is our 4th CD. We don't play anything off that CD at all. So it's tough. You know, sometimes we only get 45 minutes to play if we're opening up, or 30 minutes, you know, depending on the set. And then other times we can play an hour and 15 minutes. But we really do just play the first 2 records and dip into some Dog Eat Dog, because a lot of people love Dog Eat Dog. And that's more of a cult favorite of our fans, I think. And it's a heavier record. And then, of course, whatever our latest release is, we'll go ahead and play a song or 2 off that if time permits.
There's like I just mentioned, there's such a resurgence of everything rock and roll and everything classic rock. Going off of what happened with KISS and KISStory and all these long form projects that have surfaced for KISS, are there any plans to deliver anything like that when it comes to Warrant? you see a lot of these heritage bands making, big movies. You have Elton John movies and, Queen movies and all these great documentaries by Rush and Alice Cooper. Are there any plans to dig into the vaults and do something like that on the Warrant front?
At this time, there's not. There has been some little rumblings here and there about doing a documentary of sorts, documentaries for music bands and music artists, and just documentaries in general I think are more popular than ever with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon. I love watching documentaries, but at this point, there's just some talk, nothing really solid going down. So I don't know if that'll ever happen for us or not. It might. I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up doing something once this COVID deal's over and we can all get together again and do projects.
And you bring up COVID, and what sort of impact is, obviously you can't tour, you can't perform live. Some bands are announcing, that they're working together online on new material during the pandemic. What are you doing to get by in the pandemic to, keep your creative juices flowing? I mean, are you guys trying to work on new material? It's been, 3 years since the last album?
Yeah, we started throwing some ideas around. We haven't really started clicking yet or really stuff coming to fruition. There's a lot of riffs. I've been sending riffs to Robert and Jerry and bouncing some stuff around, but we're not really too close to making a record, but that could change really quickly if 2 or 3 songs start popping. Our old label, the last label we did our last 2 records on, Frontiers, has mentioned they'd like to do another Warrant record, so there is an opportunity there. I'm just not sure when it's going to happen. The COVID thing, doesn't put you in the best mood to write party rock songs, and then of course all the racial tensions and strife and political nightmare that's going on top of COVID just really doesn't have me. I don't know. I'm not very creative right now as far as music goes, but I know for some people that's the most creative time for them. If you're like a Bob Dylan, or you're really good about writing songs about, the social time and what's going on in the world when you're writing. But for us, that hasn't happened yet. And we're more of, like I said, a party band, and we don't really go into heavy subjects or anything like that.
That's what I love.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I said. That's what I loved about bands of the 70s, 80s, and even the early 90s. They sung about good times and about having fun and about celebrating life, and whether it's talking to a bunch of girls or eating fast food or just something. I really enjoyed listening to songs where they sang about good times rather than, oh, the world is crazy, everything's changing. We know that. We want this music to escape from that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's other artists that do that really well, and but that's just not our forte. We're more of a good time rock band, kick-ass rock and roll, and type of stuff. Not to say we can't write some, nice lyrics and tell some good stories with our songs, but we're definitely more of a party rock band. People come out to our shows, they drink beer, they take their tops off, and it's just it's a good time.
And let's hear about the women, too.
If you're going to take your top off, don't take your mask off. Okay?
I like that. That's the next Warrant shirt. If you're going to take your top off, keep your mask on. Warrant rocks. There you go. That's the next shirt. I'd buy it. I'd buy it. So last year, Kiss went on this big end of the road tour where they were finally ceasing all touring and everything was coming to an end for Kiss as a touring act, which I thought was worded very good because it left it open for them to maybe do a song in the studio or do a special thing here and there. Did you see Kiss on this tour? And would you have opened this Kiss tour if you were given the opportunity?
Absolutely, 100% yes, if we were given the opportunity. And second of all, we played on the Kiss cruise. So I got to see him play a couple nights, and I saw him do the acoustic set and got to see it. I saw everybody and got to hang out a little bit with everybody in the band except Gene. I didn't see Gene for whatever reason, but it was great, man. I love Kiss. I love a big rock show, pyro. You guys know what it's all about. I've seen Kiss a handful of times over the last 30 years, and it's always a great show. I actually saw a show in California, probably the only show that Paul Stanley ever missed. We went to see him in, I don't know what, a casino somewhere. It's like they had a 10,000 seat outdoor event, and I'm looking at the clock, and Tommy had told me they were going on at 9, and I'm like, it's 9:30 and they're still not on stage. This is weird. And then Doc McGee came out and he's like, Paul is just left to go to the hospital in an ambulance. If you guys want, you can, we can cancel tonight, or the guys can go ahead and play the show. And of course the crowd just yelled, screamed, went crazy for them to play that night. And they came out and played as a 3-piece, and it was fucking awesome. It was really cool. And of course we missed Paul, but it was pretty awesome to see those guys step up and all take turns singing songs. And they're all great singers and all great musicians. And it was cool. It was a cool, neat experience. One in a lifetime experience.
Yeah. I remember that show. It was in 2007. I believe it was
Sabota.
I'm gonna
Sabota.
I was gonna mispronounce the name, like you guys wouldn't believe. But I also remember they covered it on Gene Simmons' Family Jewels, and I always found it interesting that they play as a 3-piece, because it really showed the great musicianship for guys that have taken a lot of flack for being replacement members. But those guys have paid their dues, and I have nothing but respect for Tommy Thayer and Erik Singer. Even Erik's work on Revenge, I thought was incredible. But that's one show that if I could go back and see it, I'd want to see that, just to see the 3 guys play as a 3-piece.
Yeah, and like I said, it'll probably never happen again. And of course, thank God Paul is healthy and fine and recovered and back at work. So, but it was a neat experience. And every time you see Kiss, it's an awesome experience.
Yeah. But you didn't get to see them on this recent not even recent. It's almost 2 years ago now. The recent End of the Road tour.
I did see the shows on the boat, which are part of the End of the Road tour. Yeah, but not in an arena. So unfortunately,
with all the pomp and
unfortunately,
circumstance.
Yeah, unfortunately, COVID happened. I probably would have seen them.
So that's a good question then, with participating on a cruise as a band. How was that for you, and how did that gig come about, and was it a fun experience to be trapped on a boat with 2,500 hard rock fans?
Yeah, it was really great. Everybody was super cool, super respectful. Obviously, they're all diehard Kiss fans from all over the world. But we had a handful of them here and there that brought out Warrant swag and records and wanted pictures and autographs, and so we felt a lot of love. But it wasn't overwhelming to like where we had to hide in our rooms or anything like that. We could go enjoy the cruise, play music, hang out, see Kiss, and it was a really good time. I'd love to do it again.
One of the I think one of the last times I actually got to see the band Warrant, you guys were part of I can't remember the name of the festival. I think it was Rock the Arena in Toledo, Ohio, where it was a whole day of I'd say basically 80s metal bands that played there for the entire day. And I don't know if the arena was sold out or not, but I think I can't remember who headlined. It might have been Cheap Trick of all bands. Where
I think that sounds about right. We've done a few shows with Cheap Trick here.
I think it was either Cheap Trick or Bret Michaels. I can't entirely recall on who headlined. So you touched on it a little bit. You got some riffs going on. You got some things possibly in the works. What's next for Warrant? If the pandemic isn't a factor and you guys you're able to do what you need to do or want to do, what's next for the band? What's the next thing that's on the band's plate?
Well, we love to play live, and so we were off to a great start for 2020, and it's all, I'd say 90% of those shows have been moved to 2021. So now it's up to the rock gods and the government if they're going to allow concerts in 2021. Hopefully they do, and we'll go back to work and do what we love to do, which is on average 50 shows a year. And that's it, man. And then if we get inspired and some songs start popping, then we'll make a record.
Yeah, I want to just go back to something about the KISStory II book. I mean, what was it that helped you with skill set for working on a project like that? You've been playing in a band. Warrant was started 1984? So
yeah.
When did you find the time to learn a skill set that you could bring into a project like that, scanning stuff, working on computers and whatnot? Where did your skills come from?
I had started like everybody else, I got a computer when they became available and became interested in the internet. And then I started building some websites and learning how to build websites for fun, and, learning how to use Photoshop and a scanner. So that's basically all I needed to do for the book, was scan thousands of images, and of course catalog them and file them. And once towards the end, not too long after right before I left, they brought on a lady who had done the first KISStory book. Once we got everything organized for her in a way that she could actually start doing the layouts. And then Jean would come in once or twice a week and look at her layouts and make changes. Or sometimes I'd take stuff down to, like one time I had to go down to rehearsal to show Jean some stuff. That was pretty cool.
How tough was he to please in terms of, quality, attention to detail? Obviously, he's got a very particular vision about things. How easy was it to marry what you were doing with what he saw the product as being?
Well, for what I was doing, I wasn't doing any creative stuff, really, very little as far as layouts and stuff, a little bit. But it was mainly the lady that did the KISStory II book. So they would have their little battles. Gene knows what he wants. Gene knows what he likes. He has a vision for KISS. Nobody knows what KISS should look like or sound like better than him and Paul for sure. So you just show him some stuff, and he likes some of it and change some of it. It really wasn't that big a deal.
How happy were you with the end product? I know you left before it came to fruition. I don't remember exactly when it came out. I did see an early copy. I think it was at one of the indie expos. But how pleased were you with your contributions and how it was all represented in the book?
I love the book. I obviously have a copy of the book. Jean had saw a picture of my wife and one of her friends. They used to do a lot of Baywatch and modeling stuff. So my wife and her friend Kim are in the book, which is really cool. And then it turns out there's right on the page right next to my wife's page, there was a nurse in Gene Simmons makeup, and my bass player ended up marrying her like 2 or 3 years later. So that was kind of trippy. That just all happened by circumstance. I mean, it wasn't planned out that way. So some fun stuff happened with the book, and I'm proud to be a part of it. It was cool, and working with Gene was an amazing experience. And I'd see Paul around the shop as well, and super cool guy. And just it's nice to be around your heroes from time to time, and especially a band as big as KISS.
And especially when they're actually signing your paychecks at the time, which transcends from fan to hey, you're working with the guys.
Yeah, they were nice size paychecks too. It was good. It was nice to make some money.
Well, listen, that's if you. I mean, I've been involved in several projects with Gene and his soda company, and it's always nice when they say thank you, but then you're like, oh, I got this check that I don't even know what to do with. Do I cash it or do I keep it? It's like you don't even know what to do with it at that point, especially being a crazy fan as I am.
Yeah, frame one of them, keep it on the wall. I'm sure Gene wouldn't mind if you didn't cash it.
Yeah. The accountant calls you later in the year and says, we paid you for this fee and we haven't cashed it. Oh, I lost the check. Can you send me another one? And,
there you go.
And maybe just stop payment on that just so I can
hang
keep
it on the wall.
Yeah, with the rest of the stuff. All right, well, listen, Eric, I really, really enjoyed talking with you about KISS. You're more than welcome to come back on the show anytime you have anything going on with Warrant, and I hope that 2021 you guys are able to go back on tour, and I hope we can come out on the road and do a special episode with Warrant on the road to let all the fans know that Warrant is still out there. They're still just as ass-kicking as they were back in the day, and they're still out there pleasing the fans with some great music. Julian,
I appreciate you guys. You have any? Yeah, I was going to say I appreciate you having me on the show, and appreciate the invite to come back. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Julian, any final questions? Any final thoughts?
No, just one last question, and then we'll let you go. Favorite KISS song?
Kiss Alive. For sure. One. Kiss Alive 1 is I still listen to it all the time. There's something about the production and the rawness of it and the crunch of the guitars and the excitement of the crowd, and it's just all that record will always have a special place in my life.
As a guitarist, is there a song that makes you grab your guitar, a KISS song with a riff?
I mean, there's so many great riffs. I've rarely played any cover songs. We never really did cover songs. But I've learned some Kiss songs over the years here and there. But I mean, there's songs like Parasite that I love, Black Diamond. I mean, there's so many. I mean,
Parasite.
It'd be hard to pick one, but yeah, Parasite's just sickening. So
that's a great pick, and we certainly appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, and real quick before I sign off, I've been doing some painting some guitars, and you guys, if you're listening and you're interested in checking out some of my artwork, you can go to Punk Rock Guitars at Punk Rock Guitars on Instagram and check out some of the stuff I'm doing.
Fantastic.
All right, so make sure you follow Erik on Instagram, and also make sure you follow Warrant to see when they're going to be back on the road. And hopefully Erik will be back here, and maybe he can do a guitar for the podcast or something. We'll raffle it off for charity or something. I don't know. I mean, I love doing charity work. We gave away a Gene Simmons vault last year, and we donated all the money that we made to a women and children's shelter. So it was cool. We love doing stuff like that.
Yeah. I did something similar when a sad situation when Kobe Bryant died, of course, but I did a Kobe Bryant tribute guitar for him with with purple and yellow and 24 on it and stuff, and I sold that for $1,000 and donated the money to a place called Michelle's Place in Temecula, California. I've been working with that charity on and off for about 6 or 7 years, and just a great organization, and they do a lot of good work in the community. So yeah, like you said, it's fun to raffle off a guitar and donate the money to charity.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I mean, all of us, we do little radio shows. We do little things like this for fun. But what's really cool, especially for me, is when you get to kind of give back and do something for somebody. And a lot of times, raffling stuff off and doing stuff like that is like the easiest thing I've ever done. But anyway, Erik, I hope you join us again, and I hope we can see you guys back out on the road and, back where you guys belong, in my opinion.
Right on, man. Right on, guys. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully 2020 will finish strong.
I hope so. Thank you again, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for spending time listening to the KissFAQ podcast today. All sales are final. There are no refunds. If you'd like, look us up on Facebook or come over to the KissFAQ message board and discuss the topic we've broadcast today. Don't forget to rate us on iTunes, Spreaker, or wherever you've listened to the show. We hope you'll join us again.